Hi, everyone. I'm Shar Hildebrand, and I just want to welcome you to our first online presentation for the Employee and Family Assistance Program. Our presenter today is Cam Sikora from Lifeworks, which was formerly Morneau Chappelle. Cam has been a customer success manager with Lifeworks for almost 7 years and has almost 10 years experience in the EFAP industry. He is based in BC. Overall, today's presentation will take 45 minutes with ample time at the end for questions and answers. As today's presentation is being recorded, we'd ask you to hold off on your questions until the end, and we will stop the recording before the Q&A begins. Take it away, Cam.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for the intro, Shar. Good day, everybody. Cam Sikora, Customer Success Manager. That's a fancy word for account manager from your EFAP provider, Lifeworks, formerly Morneau Chappelle. And as Shar mentioned, the presentation is going to take us to about quarter to the hour, and we'll have plenty of time at the end for Q&A. I'll hang around as long as we need it after the top of the hour to answer any and all questions that you might have, but about 45 minutes in total with regards to the presentation. Because as you can see, I tend to flail around a lot when I present. What I'm going to do is shut off my video so we can concentrate on the slide deck provided, and we'll move through the content. So what I'm here to do today is talk to you about an oftentimes lesser regarded but vitally important part of the benefits package at CCMBC, and that is the Employee and Family Assistance Program. And my overall goal of the presentation is to show you how you can leverage the EFAP to support what we like to call the 4 pillars of well-being: physical, mental, social, and financial, not only for CCMBC employees, but for eligible dependents as well, because we understand this is a fantastic opportunity. Not only do we have employees on the call today, we also have some eligible dependents as well. First question I usually get is, who are my eligible dependents? And technically, it's anybody that has access to the benefits of a CCMBC employee. They'll also have the exact same access as that employee to the Employee and Family Assistance Program. You see the acronyms that I use, I sometimes use EAP, Employee Assistance Program, but more commonly EFAP, Employee and Family Assistance Program. If we're to use a textbook definition of an eligible dependent, it would be spouse, common law or otherwise, children 21 years of age or under living with the CCMBC employee, or 25 years of age or under not living with the employee but enrolled in post-secondary. So EAP, Employee Assistance Program, EFAP, Employee and Family Assistance Program. You might notice in the top right-hand corner, as Shar referenced in her intro, our organization, as of Monday, May the 17th, underwent a little bit of a change in terms of name. We were formerly, you might recognize the EFAP as Morneau Chappelle. Morneau Chappelle has been a incumbent benefits provider in Canada. Geez, we did our 50th anniversary in July of 2016, so 55 years as one of the premier benefits providers in Canada. On May the 17th, this past Monday, we switched our name from Morneau Chappelle to Lifeworks. And Lifeworks was another organization that we purchased back in July of 2018, geez, almost 3 years ago now. And we're merging slowly but surely the two organizations together. And the impetus for the name change, we're not only a Canadian organization now, and there is some name recognition for Morneau Chappelle in Canada, but we're also a global organization. We are the biggest EFAP around the globe. And for people outside of Canada, the words Morneau, Chappelle, they're not nouns, they're not verbs, they're hard to pronounce for a lot of people. So yeah, Lifeworks more adequately and accurately describes what we do for individuals and organizations. We help life and we help people perform at work. So a little bit about our logo. So what are we going to do with the presentation today? Basic features of the EFAP program. Now, I've done this presentation on numerous occasions to multiple organizations over the course of my career, and there's always a lot of ambiguity around what exactly the Employee and Family Assistance Program is. There's some people that might be on this call today that have never heard of the EFAP before, and if that's you, no worries. By the time we get to the quarter to the hour, you will be all tuned up on the features and benefits of the Lifeworks Employee and Family Assistance Program. Some people on the call, they might have heard of the EFAP before. They know what's part of the extended benefits at CCMBC, but they've never accessed it before and they don't know what that will look like. And if that's you, that's cool too. Or I get this when I'm doing this presentation live, hands go up and people say, I know what the Employee and Family Assistance Program is. That's counseling service. And I don't have a mental health issue, so I don't need counseling service. So I don't need the EFAP. Thank you and good night. So if you don't remember anything that comes out of my mouth over the course of, say, the next 40 minutes, please take the following two things away. Number one, the EFAP is more than just counseling service. That's important. The clinical counseling component of our program, when I talk about clinical counseling, it's things like stress, anxiety, depression. That's the cornerstone of any good employee and family assistance program, Lifeworks included. And that's where most people's minds go when they think about a program like ours. What a lot of people don't know is that we also offer things like, we call them work-life services. And these are like legal consultations, financial consultations, career consultation, consultations with nutritionists, health coaches, childcare and elder care support. So number one, we're more than just counseling service. And number two, there's something in the EFAP that everyone can use, either proactively or reactively. So more than counseling, number one, something that everyone can use, number two. And people ask me, Cam, my family, friends, you're in the EFAP business. What does an EFAP do? And in my own words, without using any industry lingo or any of that fancy stuff, what I tell them is an EFAP is there to help people overcome obstacles and succeed in your game of life. Pretty simple, in spite of our current global circumstances, maybe job's good, family's generally healthy, you have a pretty positive outlook, but something shows up on your radar that you maybe have never dealt with before. It's sitting in the back of your head, maybe causing you a little bit of stress. Maybe you're losing out on some sleep at night, can't talk to your spouse. Kids are too young, friends don't know how to help you. A perfect opportunity to reach out to the EFAP and work with one of our master's level counselors on overcoming the situation before it potentially becomes a chronic issue in your life and causes you to miss out on family time, work, etc. So what's an EFAP do? Helps people overcome obstacles and succeed in your game of life. The blue bars in the top right-hand corner, online support and resources. We have a fantastic web-based platform that's associated with the EFAP. It is a public domain. If you're writing stuff down, it's www.workhealthlife.com. Fantastic wealth of information on anything related to those four pillars of well-being: physical, mental, social, and financial. We'll talk a bit about that. And we also have an app. It's My EAP. In the App Store or Google Play, MYEAP. And we used to, in the EFAP industry, we used to give away like the brochures, and the wallet cards used to be popular, but most people don't carry around an EFAP brochure with them. People always have their phones on them. So if there's a takeaway from today's presentation, something that I would ask you to do as a result of hearing the things that we're talking about today, is go onto the App Store or Google Play and download My EAP or MYEAP, because that way you're going to have access to this program at your fingertips 24/7. 365. And lastly, we'll talk about accessing services as well. As I mentioned before, a lot of people, they might have heard of the EFAP, but a lot of people have never accessed the program before. Kind of questions I get are, if I'm calling in, what sorts of things are they going to ask me for? Are they going to ask me for my social insurance number? Are they going to ask me for my credit card number? Are they going to ask me for my employee ID? That's a big one. We don't ask for any of that stuff. We like to keep the intake process at a very high level to get people the support that they need in a quick and efficient manner. So we'll talk about all that stuff as we go through. So here it is, the EFAP, Employee and Family Assistance Program. A little bit about us. As I mentioned off the top, we are a Canadian company through and through, 55 years plus doing business in Canada. We are Canada's largest EFAP provider. And with the acquisition of Lifeworks, we are now the largest EFAP provider in the world. We support over 50 million employee lives worldwide. So kudos to CCMBC for choosing the biggest, and we like to think the best, EFAP that's available to Canadians. We also have Canada's largest clinical network. It makes sense. We have over 4,000 counselors across this beautiful country of ours. Question I used to get, and this is a result of the pandemic, the majority, I'd say over half of the support we used to provide pre-pandemic, before it was declared by the WHO on March the 11th of 2020, it seems like years ago, We used to provide over half of our support in person. That was a common modality, as we call it. People wanted to sit down and talk with a counselor face to face and work through their situation. Since the pandemic, that has changed to majority video or telephonic counseling. And it's been a bit of a silver lining for us in the EFAP industry, because we've been saying for years that the results that people achieve through video and telephonic counseling are as good as people will achieve through in-person counseling. And now people are starting to find that out for themselves. Lots of positive feedback about video and telephonic. In non-pandemic times, the question I used to get is, if I'm going to go see a counselor in person, how far do I have to go? And in our call center, they have a search engine that's typically within 20 kilometers or less from where an individual works or lives in a major urban or suburban area. Rural might take a little bit longer, but we do have a number of other modalities for people that choose not to travel and maybe want to do a video or telephonic interaction with a counselor as well. This last piece here, we're professionally accredited by the Council on Accreditation. Very formal. What does this mean? Long story short, this means that Lifeworks is abiding by the best standards and practices of the EFAP industry in Canada. We were, Morneau Chappelle was, the first EFAP in Canada to receive this accreditation, and we're responsible for renewing it every 3 to 4 years to demonstrate we're still on the up and up with best standards and practices. I will refer to this accreditation piece as we go through the presentation, and I promise you it'll make more sense. I'll tie it in nicely. Basic features of the EFAP. Number one, first and foremost, it is free. Whether you're a CCMBC employee or an eligible dependent on the call, this program, everything we talk about today is free and included for you. This is one of the few benefits that you have where you will never have to pay for things in advance and submit receipts for reimbursement. That will not happen here. Everything that I'm talking about is an employer paid part of the program. So you will never have to pay for anything in advance. The program is, sticking with the top bullet, 100% confidential. And I have a whole slide on confidentiality to talk about the ways that we protect the confidentiality of individuals and their eligible dependents as well. We mentioned that the program is available to everybody that has access to a CCMBC employee's benefits. And we are a true 24/7, 365 program. Our call centers, you see the toll-free number there at the bottom in the purple, 1-844-880-9142. That is live answered by real live human beings, 24/7, 365. And we also, on the web portal or the app, we have something called First Chat. And this is no appointment necessary, real-time chat with a master's level counselor. So somebody wakes up at 3:30 in the morning, they're in a cold sweat, they can't sleep, they need to talk to somebody. You can call that toll-free number and press 1 for immediate support, get immediately connected with a counselor who will work with you over the phone, or you can log on to the app, First Chat, and how can we help you? And start chatting immediately with a master's level counselor. Second bullet, access to short-term goal-oriented counseling. Question I get: if I'm working with a counselor, how many sessions do I get? We provide CCMBC with what's called a flexible counseling model. It's not unlimited, but we provide a flexible number of counseling sessions to the individual and their assigned counselor to resolve the, as we call it, presenting issue to the mutual satisfaction of the individual and their assigned counselor. Again, we're the biggest EFAP in Canada. Across our entire book of business, the average number of sessions for a clinical case, when I say clinical, stress, anxiety, depression, etc., the average length is 3 to 4 one-hour sessions on average. Some people will access the EFAP and they'll have an aha moment in 2 one-hour sessions. Wow, I never thought of things that way. They get some tools and techniques from their counselor. They agree to close their case. The person moves on in their game of life. Other people may need 5, 6, 7, 8. Again, it's not unlimited, but we'll provide the counselor with a flexible number of counseling sessions to resolve the situation if it is clinically determined. Again, all our counselors are master's level educated. If it is clinically determined that a longer term support outside of the EFAP would be required, our counselors are always prepared to refer and shepherd people into those community-based resources. It'll never be, we've done all we can for you at the EFAP, thanks and best of luck to you. The continuity of care is always there. We'll be able to resolve 99% of cases within the EFAP, short-term solutions-focused model, but they will also refer people. And when you think of long-term things, think of a long-standing mental health issue, a substance abuse issue, they'll always be prepared to refer and shepherd people into community-based resources. Third bullet down, we talked about in-person being replaced with video and telephonic over the course of the pandemic. In-person is still being offered, again, based on provincial rules and restrictions, in about 5% to 10% of the cases right now. So there might be a situation where in a particular province, people can still access in-person counseling. But the vast majority of it now is being done by a video and telephonic, but there are a number of other modalities as well that I'll talk to you about. And those that need can access support. The phone number, that's a popular place to people to go to talk to our call center, 1-844-880-9142. And I mentioned the app. Go to the App Store or Google Play and download MYEAP, MyEAP. And then there's the web portal, workhealthlife.com. And I will talk a little bit more about that as we go through the presentation. What do you expect when you're accessing the services? So you call in, there's the toll-free number, 1 for English, 2 for French. I received this question. I have an eligible dependent who could really use access to the Employee and Family Assistance Program, but they are not comfortable pressing 1 for English or 2 for French. They prefer to converse in another language. Can they still use the service? And the answer is absolutely 100% yes. Within 20 seconds of them calling in, we can transfer them through to our language line translation service that offers over 200 different languages. We have the multiculturalism of Canada covered through and through with our language line translation service. And for in-person counseling or video or telephonic counseling, I understand we have over 30 languages available for ongoing clinical support as well. Once you get in there, press 1 for English, 2 for French, or identify the language. Then you would follow the prompts. Immediate support, I mentioned this. Somebody needs to talk to a counselor immediately, you can press 1 and you'll get connected with a master's level triage counselor. Non-urgent, you press 2 and you'll go through our intake process, which I'll explain to you in a slide down the road. And the third one, on-site critical incident support. This would be for people leaders at CCMBC if there is a situation that affects the physical or psychological well-being of an employee or group of employees. And CCMBC wants to get a counselor on site, which we are still doing, unless there's been a recent outbreak at a particular work location. People leaders at CCMBC can arrange to have a counselor on site, typically quickly after a specific incident. As an example, we work with a lot of financial institutions. If there is an armed robbery, typically 911 is the first call. Typically, the EFAP is one of the next calls because the organization wants to get a counselor on site to debrief with the employees that were on site for the event as a group. And then the counselor usually sequesters themselves in a side room for a number of hours to meet with any employees that maybe want to talk to a counselor one-on-one and find out a little bit more about the Employee and Family Assistance Program. Confidentiality. I told you I'd have a whole slide on this. First bullet, long story short, no one's going to know you've used the EFAP unless you tell somebody that you've used the EFAP program. That's as simple as it gets. Me as an account manager, we provide reports to organizations. They're done at a very high level, and they advise the organizations on how the organization in general is utilizing the Employee and Family Assistance Program in terms of presenting issues and things of that nature. We don't report on who called or what people are talking about, but we do make organizations aware how the organization is using the Employee and Family Assistance Program. But the long story short is no one's going to know you've used the EFAP unless you choose to tell somebody that you've accessed the program. Convenient offices for in-person appointments, again, in non-pandemic times, typically within 20 kilometers of where somebody works or lives in a major urban or suburban area, with the majority of appointments now being provided video or telephonically. When we're in in-person times, third bullet, we'll never book back-to-back appointments with a CCMBC employee or family member and another CCMBC employee or family member with the same counselor. And this is going to prevent people from running into somebody that they may know in the waiting room or something to that effect. Fourth bullet, I get questions about, what sorts of things, what sorts of information will they ask me when I call in to open a case with the EFAP? And we'll get some general information, your name, where you work, or where your spouse works, CCMBC. And we do need to get some contact information on file. An email and or voicemail would be very helpful. We'll need either or, but preferably both. The reason we'd use an email is twofold, actually threefold. I'll explain two of them now. Number one, let's say you're working with a counselor over a number of one-hour sessions. Let's say between session 2 and 3, the counselor finds an article that really pertains to what you're working on together, and they want your permission to email you that article to review in advance of your next counseling session. And at the end, when you've mutually agreed to close your case, they will offer you the opportunity to fill out our anonymous client satisfaction survey. Good, bad, or otherwise, we're interested in hearing about your experience with the Employee and Family Assistance Program. So we'll have your email address on file, and we'll offer to send that out to you to fill out, should you choose to do so. The reason that we'd use your voicemail is simple. Counselor gets sick. We need your permission to leave a discreet voicemail to ask you to call back in to rebook your counseling appointment. Confidential records. This is getting to that Council of Accreditation, all the fancy stuff that I talked about a few slides ago. Basically, with this bullet, in terms of EFAP, everything that happens in Canada stays in Canada, whether that's a counselor writing notes down on a pad and a pen of paper, or anything that happens online on workhealthlife.com or the My EAP app. As part of our accreditation, we have something called data residency, otherwise known as everything that happens in Canada stays in Canada. Second to last bullet, all of our online services, so workhealthlife.com, My EAP, they're all secure and password protected. And again, as part of our accreditation, our encryption is on par with that of financial institutions in Canada. So the best of the best to protect the confidentiality of CCMBC employees and their eligible dependents. This last one, the EFAP is 100% confidential within the limits of the law. When I'm doing this live, this is usually where hands go up. People say, Cam, hey, hang on. Top bullet, you said no one's going to know. Bottom bullet, you're telling me limits of the law. What gives? Please allow me to explain. As an accredited EFAP provider in Canada, we have something called a duty to warn. One of the questions that we will ask each and every time somebody calls into the EFAP that we do need an answer for. We'll ask you questions when you open a case like, how old are you? None of your business. How long have you worked with CCMBC? None of your business. Those will not preclude you from getting EFAP support. But the one question we do need an answer for each and every time someone calls in is this: is there any imminent risk of harm to yourself or harm to others? If the person says, nah, I'm a little bit stressed out looking to book something with a counselor, we'll move you through the regular intake process. However, if the individual is crying on the phone, they're not sure, they answer affirmatively, whatever, if there's any inkling that a person is at risk of harm to self or harm to others, we will transfer them immediately, 24/7, 365, to that master's level triage counselor to begin working with them right away over the phone. And if it is indeed determined that there is a legit risk of this person harming themselves or harming others, that's where the duty to warn kicks in. Next question I usually get is, well, who do you warn? And that's all specific to the situation. It could be the family, could be the family physician, could be the authorities. It could be CCMBC if there's a threat against a colleague or a building. 99.999% of stuff is going to remain confidential, but I wanted to let you know that as an accredited EFAP provider in Canada, we are bound by what's called a duty to warn. This is not an exhaustive list, but gives you a pretty good idea of the depth and scope of support that we provide to Canadians on a daily basis. The stuff that's in blue are called our primary presenting issues. And those are the more prevalent reasons that people call in. A little bit of trivia for you. I've been in this business, as Shar mentioned up top, pretty close to 10 years, and I've done thousands of reports for thousands of organizations over the course of my career. And regardless of the industry, the demographic, the location, the size of the organization, any of those factors, there's always two main reasons. We call them primary presenting issues. Two main reasons why a Canadian will call an EFAP. Number one, by far, is stress. Top of the pile for almost every organization we support. And we're the biggest EFAP in the world, from big conglomerates all the way down to the mom and pop shop. Stress is number one. Personal stress, work-related stress. Pre-pandemic, people would call in and say, I'm stressed out. Okay, tell us a little bit more about your situation. And they would reference personal situations that were contributing to their stress. After March the 11th of 2020, people would call the EFAP and say, I'm stressed out. We'd say, okay, tell us more. And more commonly, people would reference a work-related situation, reduced hours, job loss, working from home, things of that nature that were contributing to their stress. And that started to even out again to where personal stress is being referenced more than workplace stress. But regardless, those are the primary presenting issues that we see typically at the top of the pile. Second place, relationship issues. As many of myself included, many of us know, these are oftentimes can be intertwined. So one or two, stress and relationship issues are primary presenting issues. Mental health wise, stress, anxiety, and depression are the top three mental health issues that we see. And statistically, it's indicated that 1 out of every 5 people at some point of time in their game of life will experience a serious mental health issue that could be related to stress, anxiety, or depression. The other 4 people, they're going to know somebody who's experienced a serious mental health issue. So this gives you a general idea of the depth and scope of support that we provide to Canadians on a daily basis. And this is not a use it once and it's done situation. It's not, access the EFAP once and it's over. As an example, we're really busy in January, typically, especially January of 2021, exceptionally busy. In a typical January, holidays over, parties over, visa bill shows up, depression kicks in, New Year's resolutions, Blue Monday, all that sort of stuff. So if somebody from CCMBC, as an example, accessed the EFAP in January of 2021 for depression coming out of the holidays, and they work with a counselor over a number of 1-hour sessions, and maybe they agree to mutually close their case on March 31st of 2021, person moves on in their game of life. Fast forward to December of 2021, and the person is starting to feel anxious about what happened last year during the holidays, and they want to re-access the EFAP and work with that exact same counselor on that exact same issue for a new set of 1-hour sessions. Absolutely. That's what we're here to do. What we're not is for somebody to retain a counselor throughout the calendar year and go and check in with them every 3 weeks on the regular, regardless of anything's going on or not. So the EFAP is there for you to use as things show up in your game of life. I mentioned other modalities. Again, in the circle, top left-hand corner, average 3 to 4 sessions of counseling per issue, but it is a flexible model that we provide. The stuff on the top we've talked about pretty extensively throughout this presentation thus far. Some of the things when people call in and they work with our intake staff, our call center representatives, many of them are bachelor's level educated, many of them studying to become counselors themselves. Our intake staff will ask questions like, what's your learning style? How do you prefer to communicate? And try and right-size the experience for that particular individual. On the bottom shelf, bottom left-hand corner, pardon me, some people might say, I'm better at expressing myself in writing. I would like to email a counselor. Can I do that? Yeah, and we could set you up with e-counseling. And it's not Gmail to Hotmail. It's done through the secure portal on workhealthlife.com or my EAP. It's asynchronous, big word for me, email exchange. Individual emails a counselor. Within 48 hours, the counselor will email back, and that counts as a 1-hour counseling session. And that works for some people. Maybe other people would prefer some of the more popular modalities, in-person, video, telephonic, as an example. Self-directed resources, if you go on to workhealthlife.com or the My EAP app, there are a number of self-directed resources like basically toolkits and work kits on there. Smoking cessation is an example of something that we would offer and give people the opportunity to work through on their own. And then if they are in need of additional support, they can then work through that. They could basically go onto the first chat function or book clinical counseling to augment the things that they're doing through the self-directed resources. Online group counseling, bottom right-hand corner, originally developed to assist people with anxiety. This is like an old school internet chat room. So it's moderated by a master's level counselor, no more than 10 people, no 2 people from the same organization, completely anonymous. Individuals getting together and sharing stories, tools, techniques, learnings, etc. about anxiety. Tremendously popular. And it's since been expanded to parenting adolescents and communicating in relationships. So if you have one of those particular presenting issues and you identify as an individual who likes to learn online, perhaps potentially group learning is your thing, they may recommend online group counseling for you for your particular presenting issue. I mentioned off the top, number one, more than just counseling, Number two, something in the EFAP that everyone can use. These are our work-life services, and many people have absolutely no idea that these exist within the EFAP, and they're free of charge as well. As you can see in the top left-hand corner, these are done telephonically, and you get up to 3 telephonic sessions per issue, circle in the bottom left-hand side. We have nutritionists who are all registered dietitians, and you get up to 3 telephonic sessions per issue with a registered dietitian. And you can see on the right-hand side some of the presenting issues. You might get the finger wag from your family physician that you need to make some lifestyle changes, like I did. My issue was LDL cholesterol, bad cholesterol. I'm reasonably good shape, too much time in the drive-through, poor dietary choices. So if your family physician gives you the warning that you need to make maybe develop an eating plan, switch that up, but you don't know where to start, you can call the EFAP and get those 3 telephonic sessions with a registered dietitian to help you get on the right track. Next up, our health coaches. They are all registered nurses. So again, if you've been told you're at risk for type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, things of that nature, you can have up to 3 one-hour sessions with a registered nurse to help you get back on track as well. And last but not least, our family support services. These are all master's level counselors, but they have a specialty, and they support individuals who are calling in with questions about childcare and elder care. This is like a well-oiled research machine for any questions that you have in either of these topics. For childcare, it's everything from pregnancy to choosing a university for your child. You can call in, get partnered up with a family support services representative. They can do some interim counseling with you, and they'll also provide you with some information. So they'll do some research for you on your particular topic. Maybe you've just moved to a new city and you're looking to obtain childcare resources and you don't know where to start. We can help out with that. And same with elder care resources. Maybe you're looking for in-home care for an elderly relative and you want some help and support with that. We can work on that as well. So again, more than just counseling, some additional things going on in terms of our work-life services. We also have professional advice. As you can see on the left-hand side, these are also done telephonically, 30-minute telephonic consultations per issue. We got legal consultations. We partner with a third party called Assistenza, who offer 24/7, 365 legal support in English or French. We'll handle any sorts of questions with the exception of workplace disputes. So as an example, if somebody from CCMBC calls us and says they want to sue CCMBC, that's a non-starter of epic proportions. Couldn't support with that. But on the right-hand side, you can see a number of areas in which we could provide assistance. Top right-hand corner, wills and estates. The pandemic has caused many people to get their financial affairs in order, so to speak. And did you know, more trivia for you, did you know 56% of adult Canadians do not have a legal will on file? And that includes many people that maybe just bought their first house, just had their first child, maybe work at a safety sensitive position. So the pandemic's caused a lot of people to get their house in order. That may involve getting a will on file. And you can go online. I'm going to Google and type in free will kit Canada, and you'll get thousands of opportunities to print out a free will kit. I don't know when I did mine was like 10, 12 pages long. Fill out assets, liabilities, personal information. It gets to the back and it talks about executors, powers of attorney. I was a bit younger when I filled out I had no idea where to start with that stuff. So if you run into a legal question like that, and you need some guidance, you can phone in for that 30-minute consult, and then they'll talk to you about next best steps to pursue your specific situation. And for a will kit, that would be taking it to a notary to get it notarized and turned into an official will. Financial, we partner with a third party called Acquaint Financial. 30-minute consultations for any sorts of questions you might have, excluding international tax. We couldn't help you directly with that. But you can see on the right-hand side, debt, credit, divorce, investment planning, all sorts of different topics, and they'll talk to you about your general questions, and then they'll point you in the next direction in terms of the next best step to pursue your situation, whether it's talking with a mortgage broker, debt consolidation, talking to your financial institution. So a lot of people don't know that we have legal and financial supports available through the EFAP free of charge. And the career counseling, last but not least, is more like the previous slide in terms of duration, where you get up to 3 sessions with a career coach. In the bottom right-hand corner, you can see that there's 3 different topics: career planning, helping people successfully navigate their current chosen careers. There's career resiliency, otherwise known as managing stress in the workplace. There's a stress and resilience assessment that goes along with this. And then retirement planning, less of the financial aspect and more of the lifestyle aspect of retirement planning. And they can support individuals with that as well. Here it is, the website, workhealthlife.com. This thing got over 2 million unique hits in 2020. So a very popular resource for any questions that you might have on those 4 pillars of well-being: physical, mental, social, and financial. And it's a public domain. You can go to any computer anywhere and type in workhealthlife.com. There'll be a splash page that says type in your organization. If you type in the name of your organization, it'll take you directly in there, and you do not have to register to go in there and have a look around and have access to all of the resources on those 4 pillars: physical, mental, social, financial. As you can see on the right-hand side of the screen, the modalities, the chat with a counselor, email a counselor. If you want to use those, right above the purple stuff, it's small, it's an orange there. There's a little register button kind of in the top right-hand corner. If you click that, it'll ask you 6 questions. First name, last name, that's 2. Choose an email, retype it. That's your 4 questions. And then choose a password, retype it. That's 6 questions. That's it. And then you will have full access to all of the content and all of the modalities that are available on workhealthlife.com. Again, a fantastic and very popular resource and a wealth of information on anything related to the Employee and Family Assistance Program. On the front tiles, we have, COVID toolkits, things of that nature. I'm going to talk a little bit about Lift Personal Fitness or Lift Virtual Fitness. And there is a tile right on the front screen. It's a picture. There's about 5 of them that scroll across. And if you're writing stuff down, Lift Virtual Fitness will appear on there as well. But if you're looking for any COVID-related resources, they're going to be right there on the front page as well. Easy to access. And then the app, My EAP, on the App Store or Google Play. And it has all the stuff that's available on workhealthlife.com in a bit more of a scaled down format. But it looks kind of like it does on the left-hand side in terms of big buttons. So you basically have the app on your phone, you touch in, the chat function is right there. It's very easy to find right there on the front page. The phone number will be right there. So this is basically like having one of those, old school EFAP wallet cards in your pocket, 24/7, 365. So again, if there's anything that you're like, what should I take away from this presentation? What's my action item? This is it. Download the My EAP app from the Google Store or the App Store or Google Play and have it on your phone, and encourage your eligible dependents, or if you're an eligible dependent, encourage the CCMBC employee to do the same thing. So you'll have access to this program 24/7, 365. Lift Virtual Fitness. Obviously, with the onset of the pandemic, many people have lost the ability to go down to their yoga studio, their spin class, use the gym as regularly as they used to. So we have partnered with a group called Lift Virtual Fitness to offer unlimited access to virtual fitness through workhealthlife.com or My EAP. So the way to get it going here is you'd go to workhealthlife.com to register. And again, it's going to be right there on the front page. It's a picture of a young lady tying her shoelaces, and it'll say Lift Virtual Fitness right across it. You click on there and it'll tell you how to register. And it's a very simple process. Then you would go to the App Store or Google Play and download the Lift app. That's the 2-step process. Anybody can go directly to the App Store or Google Play and download the Lift app. What it offers you, right off the top, it offers you what's called virtual fitness journeys. These are 6-week programs, 3 30-minute workouts a week, from everybody to I haven't worked out in 10 years to I'm training for a triathlon. Something in there for everybody. And after each of the 30-minute workouts, it basically asks you, is that too easy? Was that too? It's very intuitive. And it adjusts your next workout based on the feedback that you provide on your previous workout. So these are called virtual fitness journeys, 6 weeks long, 3 30-minute workouts. And you can use a few of these free of charge if you just go directly to the App Store or Google Play. And after you've done this a couple times, it'll ask you to crack out your credit card and start paying. However, if you go to workhealthlife.com and you register there, because you're with CCMBC, then you download the Lift app, you have unlimited access to these virtual fitness journeys. So it seems like we're making some progress on the pandemic, and hopefully things will be somewhat back to normal. But a lot of people have taken advantage of Lift Virtual Fitness since the pandemic was declared. We had the guys in from Lift talking to our account management team, and I asked them, what percentage increase did you see in lift since the pandemic was declared. And they said, well, it's not a percentage, it's a multiplier. 10 times more people. It was popular before, but 10 times more people had registered and were actively using Lift Virtual Fitness after March the 11th of 2020. So there is another free and included resource you may not have known about that's available to you as a CCMBC employee and eligible dependents through the EFAP. Intake call flow. I mentioned I talk a little bit about this. See, we got a couple minutes left before the quarter to the hour. So I'll get through this quickly, but want to make sure that we cover this off. So if you called in and you were requesting EFAP service, this is what it would look like in terms of the call flow. When they mentioned the opening, number one, this would be where do you work? Where does your spouse work? You mentioned CCMBC. Then they're going to create you a client record, a file. Then they're going to ask you, number two, that safety assessment, any imminent risk of harm to yourself or harm to others. As you can see at the bottom, most callers will be offered an opportunity to speak with a counselor immediately. So we're always ensuring that if anybody's in distress, that they're going to have the opportunity to talk to somebody. If it isn't that type of situation, they're going to move into 3, the needs assessment. And this is the situation where they're going to say, okay, what's going on? How can we help you out? Your opportunity to tell your story and give as much or as little information as you want in order to give us the information to book you in with a case. Then they're going to make a recommendation. And at this needs assessment phase, this is the opportunity for individuals to right size their clinical requests. Like if you're looking to work with a male counselor, you're looking to work with a Christian counselor as an example, you want to work with a counselor that speaks French as a first language, that sort of thing. Chances are we will have somebody that meets your criteria. So this is the opportunity for you to say, here's the type of person that I would prefer to work with in times of in-person counseling. Then you talk about location and things of that nature. So this is that opportunity to make your needs met. We won't get it right every time. And even if we do get it right, sometimes there's situations where people meet with their counselor the first time. It happens rarely where they say, yeah, this person ticked all my boxes, but it's very important to have a connection with people when you're working through EFAP related issues. So, the counselor really wasn't picking up what I was putting down. So in the rare occasion where you find yourself in that situation, we would ask you to call back in, and you can always request to work with another counselor that again meets your needs and criteria. Before we get to the recommendation stage, at this point in time, if you have a clinical issue, what our intake staff will do is they will email you what's called a CPA, clinical pre-assessment. We started this in about 2016 because here's what was happening. People were getting to their first counseling appointment. It was a big step for them to call the EFAP. They booked a case. They get to their first counseling appointment. They're ready to start talking about their presenting issue. And then the counselor puts a bunch of paperwork on the desk and says, before we get started, could you fill this out? People were clamoring for the opportunity to do this stuff in advance of their first counseling session. So this is what we put in place. So you'll call in, they'll send you that paperwork, you fill it out, you email it back, and then you call back in again, and then they'll continue with step 4 on the recommendation. So this has been tremendously popular because the counselor can now review your presenting issue in advance, and you can hit the ground running when you get to the counselor for your first counseling appointment. So at this point in time, they'll talk about the modalities, they'll talk about types of counselors, services, things of that nature. And then number 5, they'll ensure that you have the details of your first video or telephonic counseling appointment in these days. And then they'll ensure that you have all the support that you need prior to ending the particular conversation at that point in time. So that's how the intake call flow would work. So again, many people have never accessed an EFAP before, so it gives you a bit of an idea how the process would look when you access. And to recap, all of our counselors, top bullet, master's level education in a related field. They're all licensed and they all have a minimum of 5 years EFAP specific experience. So the best of the best to support CCMBC employees and your eligible dependents. And everybody are work-life professionals, people that work for Assistenza and Acquaint Financial, our legal and financial provider, respectively, are all certified members of their recognized professional associations. They also have a minimum 5 years EFAP experience. We talked about the 8 different counseling modalities, and we can accommodate over 200 languages and dialects through our 24/7 365 call centers. And we have 6 call centers across this beautiful country of ours. The one that I used to work out of back in the day before I started working from home was 411 Dunsmuir in downtown Vancouver. And that's where the majority of calls will terminate for the Western Canadian region. And then we have a number of call centers across Canada as well. All right. So again, for immediate support with those 4 pillars, physical, mental, social, financial, Lifeworks is available for you 24/7, 365. One of the most popular ways to get a hold of us is to call that call center number, the 1-844-880-9142. My ask of you today, second bullet down, is to download the My EAP app and have it on your phone so you have at your fingertips access to the program 24/7, 365. And then as a general resource for anything well-being wise, physical, mental, social, financial, there is the compatible website, www.workhealthlife.com. 12:46 my time. Not bad. All right. So maybe what we'll do at this point in time is I'll ask